Hey guys, welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette Mashile. I am your financial bunny. Guys, I have missed you so much. I'm so sorry. I am honestly feeling so demotivated to do content. I don't know. What's going on with me, but really I feel like I'm in a space in my life that's transitioning to something really great because on one side, I really want to do content, and then I look around and it's interviews everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do interviews. I want to go back to the original style of us doing financial literacy content. So I'm hoping that I can get back into it and I can give you guys all the information that you are looking for. Now, before I get into this video, please do remember none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody that is certified and registered with the FSCA. So let's get straight into it, right? I'm sure many of you guys, if you are on my social media, you will know that in December, I went on a date. It was a roller skating date. Fantastic. 5 minutes on the arena. I fell, my leg started splitting, and I broke my ankle. Broke my ankle in 2 places, and then it got dislocated. Went into the hospital, and I did not have medical aid. Fantastic. Which meant that I had to pay privately out of my pocket. If I tell you that it literally created the biggest dent in my savings, I probably would be exaggerating it. But that wasn't the worst thing. I was prepared for it. You guys know from my previous videos that I don't believe in medical aid, and I just feel like medical aid is subsidizing the really sickly, right? However, the problem that I did was that I did not stop to go and find the right financial products that would have then stepped in for medical aid. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why medical aid just really irks me. So right now, I'm on a fantastic medical aid. I'd like to believe that because the marketing hype says I'm on one of the best medical aids in the country. However, I get 10,000 Rand worth of medical savings. So I'm paying 4,500 every single month for an individual, by the way. And then my medical savings are 10,000 Rand. However, my physiotherapy for my ankle is 890 per session. So how many do you think I can realistically do with a 10,000 Rand medical savings? It means that right now, I am probably 80% done with the medical savings that the medical aid has given me. It is only July. I have to keep these medical savings up until the end of the year. It's just not worth it. When I run out of medical savings, the only time I can get help is in a hospital. I actually have to be hospitalized for my medical aid to pay. It just does not make sense to me. As I said, the big problem was that I didn't go and take a step further and look for a financial, medical, or health insurance product that would have spoken to my needs. And I concede to that. As I said, that was not the worst. I was prepared for any financial loss that I may incur if I become sick. Maybe not as big as this one, but I was prepared because I had savings. I had assets that I could deinvest. Sharp. Let me tell you what I was not prepared for. I was not prepared for no job, no pay. And that's the unfortunate thing with many of us, right? We're self-employed. And when you're self-employed, you are the business. If you get sick, there's no business. You don't get paid. There's no salary security. And if you don't have the right processes in place, it essentially means that your business can literally go down and you will watch it go down. So for 3 months, non-weight bearing, I cannot work. I cannot derive an income. I have no income protection. I have some, thank goodness, for my rental units. Because if I didn't have those rental units, and I was so lucky that I think by Jan this year, all of my rental units were vacated. They were rented. So I at least had 6 people paying me rent every single month. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would have done. And by the way, people say, yeah, but why don't you reduce your spending? I wasn't spending. I was literally on the couch. There was nothing I could do. I wasn't going out. I wasn't doing anything. But my car expense stays. I can't go to Westbank and say, hello, sorry, I have a broken ankle. Please, grace period. No, you can't do that. You can ask for a payment holiday. But remember, a payment holiday is a holiday for you. It's not a holiday for the bank. The bank keeps charging you interest. My house needed to be paid every single month. My second bond needed to be paid every single month. Levies, taxes, municipal rates needed to be paid every single month. So in reality, you have to ask yourself, are you an entrepreneur that actually has systems, or are you self-employed and have no job security? So today I want to do 5 tips for entrepreneurs. And the first one that I want to start off is you need to separate your business account and your personal account. Too many of us as entrepreneurs are stealing from our businesses. And I've said this before. When you're an individual, we call you a natural person. You're running a business as a natural person. The moment you go to CIPC and you register the business, you're creating what is called a juristic person. So essentially, you got power guard, you can create people, right? You now have this juristic person. The juristic person has its own bank account. Every single thing about that business says that the liability is not merged with you, which means that if you use the business account for personal reasons, you're stealing. You're essentially stealing from your own business. So it's important, number one, to make sure that you are separating any financial matters of the business and of person. So the first thing that I would say or suggest that you do as an entrepreneur is pay yourself a salary. Decide how much you actually need to run your life and pay yourself your salary. What this also helps with is the fact that you will know how much your business needs to make every single month. Many people don't actually know how much their business need to make. Like we're just going around just making money. And that's why a lot of people are overwhelmed, right? Because a contract comes, you take it. The next contract comes, you take it, because you are literally running on scarcity, because you don't know whether there's going to be business next month. But the problem with that mentality or that mindset is that you will run yourself down as a self-employed person or as a solo entrepreneur. So it's very, very important. But also it helps with growing the business. If you're going to go out to somebody and ask for funding or ask for an investment, they're going to go through your personal and your business accounts. If they're seeing rockets on the business statement, what does that say about you? Why would they trust you with a big cash injection and trust that you're actually going to buy business stock or whatever with that money if just the other day, McDonald's is being swiped with the same business account? So that's why it's important to make sure that you are separating the two. The second thing you've got to do, which is something I did not do, because I did not fathom that 2024, 3 months of it, I would be on my couch looking up at the world and hoping for something to happen, is to reduce cost. Many of us, and this is in The Richest Man in Babylon, it's one of the biggest rules he speaks about. And he says, do not increase your expenditure when you make more money. Many of us fall into that trap, right? I've got a little bit more money now. I can afford a bigger car. I can afford a bigger house. But you actually have no plan, because when you buy a car on financing, it's a future liability for however many years the credit plan is for. Or the credit agreement rather, right? So if you decide today that you're going to take a credit agreement where you're expected to pay 15,000 Rand every single month, remember it's 15,000 Rand every month for the next 4 years. Now the question is, and this is what a lot of human psychology comes back to, right? We've got 2 types of people in all of us. You've got a planner and then you've got the doer. The planner always plans, and the planner is fantastic. We all really believe we're great at planning. But the thing is, it's difficult to plan consistently. The doer does what they can with the information right in front of them. So you could have planned 4 years ago that you can afford 15,000 Rand. But as the years come by, you can only do what you can do every single month with the numbers and what you've got in front of you. It's actually called an information or an availability bias. It says that the plan sounds great, but if I get to month number 3, and I've said, I'm going to pay an extra 5,000 Rand into my car. So my installment is 15,000 Rand, but I'm going to pay an extra 5,000 Rand. The month where it comes where I must now pay this extra 5,000 Rand, if there is Afro Nation in Portugal, please, man, I'm not paying an extra 5,000 in Portugal. That's just human behavior. So it's information that you need to keep at the back of your mind, that you do need to control your expenditures, especially if you have money that is coming in that is going to be extra in your business. And the other thing about cutting costs is also by being efficient. The problem also is that when you have abundance, it's difficult to be efficient, right? When you have abundance, and this is the thing I've always tell people, are rich people really good at managing their money, or do they just have abundance? Because the people that really should show you that they're good at managing their money is the people that don't have enough or too much, because they can make sense go around. They can provide food, They can provide shelter, they can provide electricity, they can provide transport with 5,000 rand. Me and you, somebody takes all of our money away and says, you need to live off 5,000 rand. Even if they were to take away all of our debts, it will be so difficult for some of us to live over 5,000 rand. Some of us, 5,000 rand is our entire grocery budget. And you don't even eat 5,000 rand. How many of us throw food away? Let's just be fair. How many of us actually throw food away because the day you went grocery shopping, you went shopping with your eyes instead of logic? You bought things that they don't even pair up with anything in your house, or you've bought things that you actually are not going to eat. It's important to make sure that you are cost cutting and keeping that at the top of your mind. Let me talk about taxes, because that one really just... Guys, I owe SARS. I owe SARS money right now. And it's not because everyone's like, every time I tell someone, like, guys, I owe SARS, people are like, shh. It's not a shame. Quality SARS, guys. It's as simple as that. They're still going to come for me whether I talk about it or not. They still want their money whether I talk about it or not. But I think most importantly, the reason why you owe SARS is because you've got a running business. You can't owe SARS if you didn't make money. That's the reality of life, right? So, yes, I made some money. Now I owe SARS. But what I didn't bargain for was that I don't just owe SARS on income tax. I owe SARS on VAT. I owe SARS on pay. Like, there's just so many. And I think as entrepreneurs, often it's easy for us to pretend like these things don't exist. The reality is you need to know what are all the taxes that you are paying. And also the thing that I found myself in was that my tax team, or the guys that I had put together to help me with my taxes, they were running my business like, or rather they were doing my finances the similar way in which they were doing other people's finances, right? Now, it's very, very important that you need to know the nature of your own business. Because if you know the nature of your own business, it means that you can tell your service providers how your business runs. Now, if you're in the content business, you know that there's some dry months and you know that there's some very heavily active months. But VAT needs to be paid every second month. So one, it helps you with the VAT situation when you know which months are going to be dry and you might not have the money to be able to pay VAT, which then means that you need to plan for that VAT way in advance so that in the months where it's dry, you are still able to pay your VAT. That's number one. Number two, VAT also helps with pricing. I think a lot of us forget that we got to pay the taxman, the 15%. So you know that you want to make, let's say on a post, you want to make 10,000 rand. But in reality, you're not making 10,000 rand because 15% of it must go to SARS. So what you've got to do is to buffer the 10,000 rand with the 15% over and above. So when you go to client, you have to say, I'm going to charge you 10,000 plus 15% because I'm a VAT vendor. So that you do not feel the impact of paying that 15%, because let me tell you, it will piss you off. That's just the reality of it. So making sure that you are keeping ahead of that is important. The other thing SARS allows, especially when you're a small business, is what we call provisional tax. So that means that you are paying tax every 6 months, right? You've got a first period and you've got a second period of paying your taxes. I think if you're a small business that operates almost similar to how we operate, where cash flow is quite a big thing, it's important to pay that tax amount in smaller amounts. And the reason I say this, I want you to imagine this. If you owe SARS 300,000, it's better to pay 150,000 than 300,000 at once. 150 in the one part of the year and 150,000 in the second part of the year. So think about it that way. Look at the type of business that you are running and work around it that way. But also when you owe SARS, stop panicking. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, there's nothing you can do, right? You owe SARS. What then do you need to do? One, SARS is not like credit providers. They don't have a long leeway to give you. They will start charging you interest. And the interest is actually so damning. So for me, I would say the suggestion is get in contact with SARS. Ask them. Even on e-filing, they allow you to create a payment arrangement. You can call in. You can visit the branch. Literally, they need to see that you are actively trying to pay for this actual debt that you have with them. Running away, it's definitely not the answer. They are not like credit providers. They don't have 3 months, 4 months to try and get at you. By the way, SARS doesn't mind sending you a final demand letter on a Sunday. That's my final demand letter came on a Sunday. Right. The second last one is you need to build an emergency fund. I know, emergency funds are not just for individuals. Your business needs an emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is, I have 3 months where I'm non-weight bearing, I cannot work, I need to have an emergency fund. It was just a pity. I had an emergency fund for the business. However, the medical debt I had was far bigger that I had to tap into my medical savings. Thank goodness for having unit trusts and ETFs that I could easily divest and actually use that money to run my life. So when we tell people the importance of saving and people say to me, oh, what am I saving for? What if I die? No, what if you live? And what if you live and then there's a crisis that happens? Where are you going to look? Because essentially, the only options you have if you do not have an emergency fund is that you're going to either, one, have to sell some assets. And that is not a proven, foolproof alternative. Because what if people don't like your shit? What if they just don't like your shit? Like you're selling some old shit. They just don't like it. Nobody's buying it. The second one is you're going to go into debt or use credit facilities. And the problem with using credit facilities when you are desperate is that a desperate person will go for any desperate measure. So if the bank says we're charging you 20% on a credit card, how na chance? You have to take it because that's essentially where you are. So it's absolutely important to keep an emergency fund. In fact, one of your immediate goals, we always talk about short-term goals, mid-term goals, and long-term goals. One of your first short-term goals should be to have at least, if you're a business owner, 12 months worth of an emergency fund. So calculate what your living expenses are and then multiply that by 12, and that's a lump sum you need to have. And an emergency fund needs to be readily available. Of course, it mustn't be you can just transfer the money today. It must be something that gives you a breather to say, do I really need this money? Yes, I need it. Okay, let me put in a notice to the bank. I know that one of my bank has a 48-hour notice account. It's absolutely fantastic for an emergency fund. So you need to keep an emergency fund. It is and should be one of your financial goals. The last thing I want to speak about is cash flow. When you're running a business, cash flow is king. Cash flow let me tell you what happened 2 months ago. Bomadi 23, I started panicking because bank account in 92 rand. My business bank account literally had 92 rand. It almost takes 120,000 rand to be able to pay for all of the things I need to pay for every single month. I'm talking car, I'm talking home, and by the way, it's my car, my mom's car, home loan of where I live, home loan of one of my investment properties. It is levies. By the way, people think that, and it's so funny because people say to me, why don't you just sell the Range Rover? Guys, let me tell you, I can let go of the Range Rover. It's not going to make a difference. The money that the Range Rover is taking from my business account does not even make a difference because the things I have to pay for are they're not consumeristic. You know, I actually sit sometimes and I say to people, I wish I had a consumeristic lifestyle. You know, nice house, nice whatever. So your money is essentially going to those things. But essentially, actually, it is things like levies. How are you not going to pay levies? How are you not? I mean, for me to get rid of the levies, I have to get rid of the homes. For me to get rid of the municipal rates that I have to pay on those houses, I have to get rid of the whole house. So it's like small things within, like even with the car, the installment is not that big. It's more the management of this thing, you know? So if I want to get rid of the management, I have to get rid of the car. And the thing is, to be fair, the car is very, very useful for the business. I mean, I tell people all the time, my car is like I don't even think I drive a luxury car. I drive a station wagon. If you see my car, it is a delivery truck. We're carrying books in there, banners, branding. Hey, guys, please. Like, my car, I have a luxury kukoloing ele. So it's important to understand, one, the assets that you need in your business, but also understand the maintenance and operation cost that comes with them. And that's why we say cash is king and cash flow is something you need to maintain. Sharp. 23, I got 92 rand in my business account. I'm like, what's the plan? Because remember, debit orders have to go through and debit orders are loaded, right? Prior to, a couple of days before the actual debit order goes off. So I call WesBank. I'm like, sorry, hello. Benkela. that you shift my installment date from the 28th to the 4th. They're like, oh, sorry, Miss Mashile, we can't do that. It's too late. You needed to tell us, I think they said 10 or 5 business days before. So I said, okay, what is the plan? And the thing is, that small mistake, because of the cash flow issues that I would have, because my invoices would get paid at the end of the month, that cash flow issue that I then had created a ripple effect. Now I've got a missed payment on my credit report. That missed payment is like a thorn or a stain on a white sheet. Because essentially now, you've missed a payment. You look a bit like a delinquent. So how do you actually overcome such things? It is also important to make sure that you understand how much the business needs. So that if you fall into that trap of the scarcity mentality I spoke about earlier on, where every single month you're taking more business than you actually need, it helps in you planning your payment terms. So for instance, I know that the business, let's say, for instance, needs 120,000. That is like running the things that it needs to pay for, paying for service providers, paying for any retainers that we've got with service providers, pays for insurance policies and all of the stuff, and then pays for the assets that it owns, pays for salaries, everything, right? At 120,000 Rand, I need to make 120,000 Rand every month, right? So if I've got invoices that are coming in for this month with 120,000, let's say by mid-July, then I need to make sure that whatever invoices come after July, I say to client, please pay me end of August. Do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes you can even go as far as saying to client, okay, if you're going to give me a campaign, for instance, of 50,000 Rand, because I know the work that I've already done in July, I know the work that's coming up in August, because in August, the invoices are already going to make the 120,000 Rand. Then I can simply say to a client that maybe needs me to work end of August, that's going to pay me like 50,000 Rand, I can say, can you pay me in 3 payments, that amount, so that I cover August, September, and October. So I'm not starting those months off at 0 again. Because what did I talk about? The problem is many of us mentally can only manage a certain amount of money. Anything in abundance, you're going to waste. It's how people have that bias about if you get, it's called something, but I know people say it's girl math, where if you get like a tax refund, you don't account for that money. It's called mental accounting or something like that, where you don't account for that money as your money. You spend it very recklessly. It's like a stock fail. People have these stock fails that pay rotationally. Then when the stock fail pays out, your money gets blown. You don't actually know what you did with the money because it's additional over what you're already used to spending every single month. That's why we say, even if you were to be given, if we were to give you 5,000 Rand and say manage 5,000 Rand, you would struggle, right? Let's say your salary is 25,000. If we give you 5,000 Rand, you would struggle. But if we give you 50,000 Rand in the month, some people still struggle. Some people will still blow because what they are used to is making their life work with 25,000 Rand. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are managing the cash flow in your company. You are understanding where you need money, when you need money, and how much you need every single month. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see you guys on the next video. Please remember, none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are, however, looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSCA. Mwah.